Afternoon, good morning, wherever you may happen to be. Thanks for tuning in to our monthly live stream, this time for November 2023. Really happy to be joined by my co-hosts, Chris, Kilo 2 Charlie Juliet Bravo of the YouTube channel Kilo 2 Charlie Juliet Bravo Radio. Tim is back. Tim missed our stream last month. He was sorely missed.
Yes,
Tim is proprietor of the N9 SAB antenna store. And Tim, it's good to have you back. And of course, myself, I'm Tracy VE3TWM, my YouTube channel, Outdoors on the Air. So today, today, whatever, we don't have a guest. It's just the three of us. We're going to be talking about some of your favorite things, hopefully. Antennas, portable operation. Hey, there's Jeff, WJ7 Victor. Good evening to you, Jeff. Good afternoon if you're out west.
I'll be right back. I got to grab a cable. Hang on.
Yeah, no worries. Chris is doing. He's got the gear. The gear gods have to get invoked here.
Oh, look at that cool camera. It's just moving around.
Yeah, it's doing all kinds of things.
It was wondering where I went.
Okay, so Jeff is on the West Coast because I see it's 6 p.m.
It's
there,
a
right?
7 call area, but that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Well, no, there's a time next to it. It says 6 p.m., which would be 2 hours.
Well, see, I see 8 p.m. there.
Because you are
Eastern,
but
I'm only 1 hour time difference from you.
Okay, and
so I'm not sure. Hey, Jeff, tell us where you're at. And Frank Fodu left us a comment earlier. The SWL contest 2023 starts 1st of November 2023. SWLs are welcome. I don't even know what that is. Are you guys familiar with that one?
What, the term?
SWL contest.
I know there's that's a strange contest.
Well, SWL is shortwave listener, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So how would you contest that?
Right.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I'd be interested to know more. Okay, we got David, Victor Alpha 3, November India Echo from my home province. Nice to have you on board, David. Michael from Labrador. Hey, great to have you back. I wonder if the snow's flying in Labrador. And hope you're hunkered down and keeping warm. From Victor Oscar to Mike Sierra. Jeff's in Portland. There you go. He is on the West Coast. Scout 75 is back. Hey, Scout, great to see you. Thanks for showing up. We appreciate it. Okay, so let's go around the table a little bit, see what people have been up to. Let's start with Chris. Chris, what's going on in your world?
Ham radio wise, well, I know we're going to talk about a little bit my latest foray into publishing a video, dropping a video up of the antenna build project I did. I got on for CQ Worldwide a little bit. I really didn't get on a whole lot. Friday night, I got on for a little while, and I was focusing on working bands, like looking for countries on bands where I didn't have that country confirmed yet. So what was pretty cool is on 10 meters, I made 3 contacts into South Africa. And I was like, that's a pretty good haul, getting into South Africa on 10 meters, which is telling us like the propagation is real good. So, and there were a couple other, there were a couple other countries I grabbed that were like, that I'd worked before, but never worked on 10 or something like that. So that's really what I kind of focused on. So.
Good stuff. And I've done precious little DXing aside from the CQ Worldwide that I did a little bit of while I was camping. Hey, Tim, so we missed you last month. You were traveling. You were in the great, what do they call it? The Lakes State, Minnesota. They've got a term for it, don't they?
I don't know. Minnesota's not really my thing. I don't know. I know we were very, very far north, though, in the very upper part of the state.
Is that right?
Near the boundary waters, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh man, I've heard. I've done some reading about boundary waters. It sounds like an amazing place. It's a canoe trippers and a backpackers haven.
Oh, it's very cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's a natural wonderland.
In fact, there was a park near there that I was going to go, and I was going to set it up, but I had baggage
Yeah. Hey, hang on just a sec. I want to pick up the story. But Juan, hey Juan, thanks for coming in from Chile. Always nice to have you aboard. That's Charlie Echo 4 Uniform Golf India. And here's JS3 comes land of 10,000 lakes. Okay, there you go.
Hey,
I knew I'd heard that before.
hang on a second. What is that profile?
I don't know, but it's
I'm digging it though. I like it.
yeah. It's got a cool vibe.
I like it.
All right. So Tim, please continue with your Minnesota story.
So there was a park. Yeah, there's a park up there, but then we went up there for a wedding. My wife's sister's daughter, which would make her our niece. Yeah, was getting married, and they were doing it. They have a place up there, right on the Mississippi River, close by there, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, coming home on Monday. So I brought the radio, had some fun. We got an Airbnb, which actually turned out to be one of those escape tiny houses.
No kidding.
Yeah. So have you seen the escape?
Oh, I know all about tiny houses. I got really interested in them a few years ago. Oh, yeah.
Huh. Well, it's not something I'm going to be doing.
Could you imagine me at 6'3" fitting in the side of a tiny house?
You know, and I'm 5'6". Okay, so tiny house would be more my speed. No, thanks. So anyway, so I brought a couple of antennas up there because I wanted to play and I wanted to operate. I haven't operated in forever. So I got up there and we were on an island. So I was probably a stone's throw away from the lake, which was really, really beautiful. And the whole thing is like a giant birch forest, right? So think of a birch forest in, you know, the close to the end of October, third week of October in Minnesota. It's absolutely just past peak, right? And the whole place is just lit up in gold. It was absolutely beautiful. So I tweeted a couple of short films because I took my gimbal that Chris talked me into buying, and you know, did some stuff. I don't know if you saw those or not, but I did some work with a couple of the LinkedIn feds and the Work half wave that we did, which is a lot of fun. So I did a lot of JSA call, CW, FT8, FT4 into the evening.
Nice.
So it was, so I don't know, I probably got maybe 50 or 60 contacts just kind of goofing around. Did all battery power. I had a new battery setup I wanted to try. No tuner, just and the 817, just battery and 817. So it was pretty cool.
Sweet. A couple of questions for you. Number one, were you actually sitting outside or were you sitting inside? What was that like?
It rained a lot.
Oh.
So I was inside.
I get it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of rain, which made for an awesome like ambiance and mood.
Yeah.
You know, and just it was really cool to have you know, the smoky fire and a little light rain and the fall weather and all that stuff. So that was great, but it's something I want to sit inside or outside and do. So I just ran the cable underneath the door and sat there because I've got this giant picture window, right? So if you're familiar with the Escape Traveler, the Escape whatever it is, it's got like one big giant picture window that leads onto the thing. So you're almost outdoors.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. So I want to ask you. So Tim, just run down for everybody here. What portable rigs do you have?
Let's see. I got the 817, of course. I've got the G90. I've got a True SDX, and I've got a couple more. I don't. Their names are not floating to the top of my head.
Okay.
No, because they're boxed up somewhere underneath the workbench or something.
The reason I'm asking is what made you choose the 817 with that collection of rigs?
So if you were to go to my QRZ page, I had built a battery box. I did this years ago. So it was an old Stanley toolbox, modular toolbox on wheels, right? So you had a giant cavity in the bottom and then a smaller toolbox. And then there's like a middle layer that you can put like, you know, drill bits and stuff in. So forget all that. Just with the modular box on the bottom, I bought two big heavy SLAs, right? And then put a frame around those, and then put like a big power bus on that with a battery minder and a regulator, and wired it up so I could charge it or not charge it or battery or go battery solar. And in the middle layer would have been like all the adapters and connections and things like that. In the top, in the actual toolbox, which you can all take apart, right? So if I wanted to, I could just take the toolbox off. Was the 817 and the tuner, and that's what's in the photo on the QRZ page. So about 6 months or 8 months ago, I took all that apart, right? Fool that I am, because I wanted to swap out the 817 for the G90 in that box, right? And I swapped out the SLAs for some lipos so that it's not so doggone heavy, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to go out there this summer and get out there and with my new setup and light up the ham radio world, right? Well, that kind of didn't happen. So I took everything apart and kind of left it sitting there. And then I had bought, oh, by the way, up in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, there's this place called Glenn's Army Navy store. If you're in the area, I highly recommend it.
Whoa.
Very, very cool place. My wife bought a bunch of stuff and I got a couple of things, but among the things that they had that I wanted, they've got old ammo boxes and they've got, they've got the 7.62 and the 5.56 and 308 and all these different sized ammo boxes, but they've also got some plastic ones too, right? So they had a plastic ammo box. It's perfect for an 817 and the two little mini. I have the lipo versions of the 10 amp hours like you have.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and I double them up just so I don't have to change them out so often. But that and the Yaesu SC17 thing that I hate, but it's so it all goes in there, and that's cool. So I'm building that and putting the other box together, and one of these days, hopefully in the next couple of months, they'll be good to go. But I brought the 817 just because it was handy, it's light, it's there. I didn't have to mess with it. I would still have to set up digital interface on the G90 and stuff, and the 817 has the computer and the program and everything ready to go. And I grabbed the laptop, I grabbed the radio, I grabbed the batteries, we're good, done.
Cool.
So they all went in a bag instead of me having my little cool case that I could wheel around.
A question for you: Did I hear you say that you weren't keen on the SCU 17? Because I've heard nothing but good things about that.
I bought mine a long time ago, and this was when I first started, right? And I just had a devil of a time getting that thing up and running on.
Is that right?
What was then probably Windows 10, I'm guessing.
Okay.
And you had to download virtual device drivers and all of this stuff to get it set up and get it moving, and it was just a pain in the neck. I did it again recently on one of the laptops, and it wasn't that bad. But I just remember that thing being I was like a day trying to get that thing to work with the radio, and so it's just kind of left that taste in my mouth. But it works fine. It's sensitive though. I've noticed that the transmit and receive, especially on the digital side, you can really, really overdrive things with that. Yeah. And I can blow out the speakers too on the receive side with, just cranking it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm sorry. You took a couple of antennas up with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I grabbed the 2040 linked half wave that I do, and the work bander. That the work infit half wave that we did. The tech prepper and I did that recently. So it's
I'm not familiar with that one, but it does sound like a cool antenna.
Well, it's an infit half wave, right? 50 watts SSB, and it's got a 17 or 12, a 17, and a 30. So it's linked, right? It's like a linked dipole, and it's a half wave. And you just put the thing in the air, do the links you want to use, and go like that, and it's pretty cool. You don't have to put it up that high, right? 17 and 12 are just fine. 15 feet in the air. So coming out of the cabin, it was maybe a foot and a half off the ground, straight up into a tree for about 12 feet ish. 2, maybe 3 of me, right? So, and then straight over to another tree. So it was one big inverted L, and I could pretty much I did a lot of the continental US like that.
Oh, fantastic.
On digital, yeah, which was nice.
Oh,
And I had it running north-south because the cabin faced the west, and then so the sun, you can see the sunset come down right over the water.
Oh, that's nice.
And so it ran like this. So yeah, it was running north-south, and did quite a bit that way. It was a lot of fun. Did a lot of JSA call, which I needed to get more familiar with. I wanted to get around to doing, WinLink and what's the other one? VARS or Vara or Versa? What's it called? You know what I'm talking about? It's the chat. It's like a chat program for Vara, Versa, something like that. I'll look it up when it's Chris's turn.
Sure. Hey, we want to say hi to Roger McKeon. Hey, thanks for coming by, Roger. We appreciate it. Okay, Tim, that sounds like you had a really nice trip.
It was cool. I mean, I enjoyed having they would go off to Glenn's Army Navy store and do their thing. My wife and my sister, and I got to screw around with the radio all day. And in typical amateur radio fashion, just as soon as I got everything tuned and running and tweaking and just working the way I liked it, they come home. So.
Yes. Of course. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And they come on there tripping over the, I got the spike in the ground and the things in front of the doors. They bump into that, and then they open the door and the coax goes flying.
Well, but the wonderful thing about it is that they never complain about stuff like that.
No. We understand that you want to work, the radio and do this stuff. You don't need to spend any time with us.
Yeah.
We're good. We understand. Take your space. We purposely got this, multi-room, expansive cabin. Yeah.
Fantastic. Hey, listen, Mike's here, N2MAK. Hey, Mike, nice to have you join us. Thanks so much. All right, good stuff.
Mike's got a cool channel. You should put his.
He does have a cool channel.
I see Scout 75 is there too. I think he's
yes, he is
too. Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. You know what? I like that we've got a nice international audience here, which I think
we sure do.
And the SWL contest, there's a link in the private chat. I don't know if you want to. I guess there is an SWL contest.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that.
It's to encourage listening to medium wave and shortwave radio stations all over the world. I didn't know there were still shortwave stations all over the world.
Yeah, they're out there. It's not like it used to be, but they're out there.
I think it's a wonderful thing, and we've talked in the past about, how many of us, at least of our age bracket, got our start from shortwave listening, right? I can remember the first time I got excited about radio. It was from listening to these incredible signals coming from overseas from all these different broadcasters. So, in a way, it's kind of sad that shortwave has sort of gone the way of the dodo for a lot of international broadcasters. But on the other hand, it's kind of nice to know people are still enjoying it.
I used to, when I first got into it, I wanted, it was number stations for me.
Oh,
I wanted to hear number stations. So I got my little, Sangean, thing, and that didn't really work. So then I got the Grundig, and then that didn't really work. So, I'm going up in the Grundig Satellite 75 and, trying to find all these number stations. And by the time, this must have been like, I don't know, maybe the mid 90s or something like that, the only thing that you could hear were, the BBC and the Fire and Brimstone Preacher Hour,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Richard E. Good evening, all to you. Good evening, right back to you, and happy Thanksgiving to all the U.S. hams out there.
Is it Thanksgiving already?
It's coming. Well, that's why is that why we're doing this? No, I think the month turned out. Third Thursday was going to be.
It's a week from tonight. Week from today is Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Okay, the number stations in that dang Duga radar.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with the Duga radar. Tim, you know what that's all about?
There were a couple of different radars. The Russians were doing some radar tests over the North Pole or something like that.
Well, I remember the woodpecker.
Woodpecker.
Yeah.
Woodpecker.
Yep.
While you're going back.
And there's something going on now. There's a new one, a new over the horizon radar that's causing some issues in the bands.
Yes, I don't recall exactly what that is, but it's there. But I have the O'Hare Airport radar, so I don't need any others.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, Jeff says there's still a few number stations out there. I think that what is it, Ringway Manchester?
Yeah, Greenway, Manchester.
He's done some videos on the number stations.
Yeah.
They're hard to find.
Well, aren't they supposed to be? Like, and isn't it kind of amazing that in this day and age that they're still being used?
No, I think it's perfect.
Here we go. Richard says the woodpecker was the Duga radar. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
You know, and sorry, Tim, I was
No,
just going to say the so the number stations. I mean, you don't need much in the way of sophistication for that, do you?
Well, that's just it. I mean, nowadays, anything you do online is potentially traceable or hackable, right?
Yeah.
But if you've got a one-time pad and a number station, good luck.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've sort of been around the table. We've got some stuff that we want to talk about. I do want to see if this is going to work. I hope it does. I shared this with the guys prior to going live, and when I was camping the late October, the CQ Worldwide single sideband DX contest weekend, I did a Parks on the Air. I posted a video on my channel about this one. I think I called it the Nightmare Before Halloween.
Right.
Anyway, I did my operating, laying in bed at night. Just, you know, it was after dark, and I heard this bird in a tree right next to mine, and man, was this sucker loud. I'm just going to play a little
bird
bit
at night. Is that a nightjar?
And it's actually going back and forth with another one. Well,
that's
of
some
course,
that's some
I had
Canadian
never heard
vampire bird, isn't it?
Well, I had never heard a bird like that before. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what could it be? Now, I know southwestern Ontario, where I was, they get a lot of birds that the rest of the province doesn't seem to get for whatever reason. It's on this big migratory flight path. So I think I have never heard something like this. So the park warden was coming around once in a while in his pickup truck. So I flagged him down on one of his rounds. And I said, hey, listen to this. He says, do you know what bird this is? And he's got a little bird app on his phone. And he pulls it up, and I hold my phone next to his so that he can get the audio into his phone, and nothing's coming up. He says, are you sure it's not a katydid? And I said, well, I don't know. But a katydid's a bug, isn't it?
Halloween.
And it's very late in October, and so he goes to his phone and pulls up the sound of a katydid, and that's it. So this very loud bird was actually an insect, and it went all night long. Fortunately, I was able to fall asleep, but that was interesting. And later that night, it didn't show. I tried to record it. A great horned owl.
What else you got up there?
What's that?
What other weird stuff you got up there?
Well, there was a crane of some sort that was hanging around by the water's edge, literally 25 feet from where I was doing my POTA activation. He wasn't bothered by me at all. He was sitting there doing some fishing right on the water's edge while I was doing my POTA stuff.
Cool.
So there you go.
I saw a red-headed duck that made some crazy noise in Minnesota. I think I got a picture.
Red-headed duck.
Yeah, it was some sort of.
Oh, I know those. I think I've seen those in Algonquin Park.
Yeah, but what's it called? Hey, Ann.
Richard,
I think she's napping.
So we're going back to the woodpecker radar. It was, or at least one of them was, just a couple of miles away from Chernobyl. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate that. Hey, Juan comes back on a couple of occasions. I have encountered encountered number stations very early in the morning. He thought it was just a myth. Yeah, no, these things are real, and they've been on the air for generations now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they were on the air in the 70s, and probably earlier than that.
Oh, here's another damn thing. So you were listening to katydids on Halloween. Can you see that?
Sort of.
Well, that's my house. Do you know anything odd about it?
I'm having a real hard time picking it out.
Try that.
Is that the mini home, the mini house you were in?
Well, that's my home. That's where I'm at now. No,
Yeah,
no.
I'm sorry, Tim. I'm having trouble making out what it is.
No, I got like 2 inches of snow here.
Snow?
Yeah.
Well, you can keep it.
Totally.
You got that right.
Here I am
Hey!
looking for my
Hey, it's
redhead.
Kim. Kim, hey Kim, thanks for tuning in. Nice to have you drop by.
Oh, she was here she took my place last week, right?
She did. Yep. She filled your shoes admirably. She did a great job. We still missed you.
Here's the other thing. You remember I was talking about that park? There was that park up there. I don't remember what it was.
Boundary Waters.
Somewhere. So I ran into a porcupine.
Oh, I hope you didn't run too hard into him.
No, he was fine. He was. I was walking up the trail with my wife and sister.
Yep.
And there's this funky thing moving around, right? And I thought to myself, like, what the hell is a monkey doing in Minnesota? And it was in a tree. Here, I don't know if you can see that too. See that?
Oh, look at him.
Yeah, it's porcupine. There's a video here somewhere. And he's just moving around. He looked like a little monkey up there. And he saw us, and we said hi, and okay.
Did he say hi back?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, as much as porcupines can do. I mean, he's got a little face, and he was just doing his thing, and he was okay. But it wasn't like, how animals, when you run into them, they run away scared and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was just
inquisitive. He's a good judge of character.
He doesn't get bothered much, I would imagine, too.
Hey, Nimrod Diaries, the Merlin Bird ID app by Cornell is an awesome tool for bird identification call. Thank you. I'm going to have to download that one. All right. You know what? It's time we sort of got into this stuff. So I have got some slides here, and let's take a look and get this just set up here like so. So let's go on over. Chris, you were working on a fan dipole, and you ran into some snags. I know you released a video on your channel about it. Yep. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
Right. So the idea was to I wanted to make an antenna that could get me onto 12 and 17 meters. So and I decided I was going to make a fan dipole, and I've all of us hams, at one point or another, building a dipole and getting on a certain band was something we all did. In fact, when I was a kid in high school, I can't imagine how many dipoles I made, and ran up in a tree, ran up on my parents' roof, and looked up, and I had an antenna. I was on the air, so I decided to do that. So bought all the stuff. I got it through Quicksilver Radio. They advertise at QST. They're local to me, actually, up here in Connecticut. So I got the center balun, and I got some wire and some coax, and the insulators for each end, and I built this dipole. So I used the old calculation I used forever, which was there's the old 468 over F, in megahertz, and you get your length in feet, and if you want the each radio, you just go 234 over F. I did that, did my calculations, double checked everything. I cut the wires, so I gave myself a little, like an extra foot on each end, so I could maybe lengthen or shorten wherever I had it. So build the antenna, and of course 17-meter radials were longer, so that's the main part of the antenna. And then the 12-meter radials kind of go along for the ride. So you see that picture's showing everybody how I soldered the connections in the center, and put them down with lock washers and all that to make sure that was all nice and tight. So anyway, I built the antenna, and they get it off the ground, about 10 feet or so, just to do a quick test. And the 17-meter dipole was perfect, 1.5 to 1 SWR, which you'd expect, and it was just flat across the whole band. I was like, great, I'm feeling real good. Now I go to the 12-meter band, and it's sky high. It's like 10 to 1. I was like, oh, all right, well, what happened, right? Now, mind you, I've never built a fan dipole, so of course I'm thinking back in mind, all right, there's got to be some sort of proximity effect with one wire with another and that kind of thing. So I used my antenna analyzer, and I realized that the antenna is resonant too high. It's above the band. So I have to make the antenna longer to bring its resonant frequency down. Well, here's the problem. I gave myself an extra, foot on each end. It wasn't enough. I went right to the end, and it was still resonant outside of the band. It's like, oh. So I wound up having to extend because of the way I built the antenna. With the lug I took the two radio wires and put them under one lug and crimped them and soldered them. So like I'd have to take all that apart and redo the whole thing. And honestly, I was just lazy. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I remembered in the old days, there's a thing called a Western Union splice that the old Western Union guys that used to run line, holes run line, they developed a splice. And it's a way of taking two wires and splicing them and soldering them in such a way that you can extend the length of a wire by doing that. You can add another piece of wire to it. Okay, so I did that. And sure enough, I added like a little over a foot on each end of the 12-meter antenna. And I still had to kind of tinker with it. And it was really finicky. It was like, like an inch or two either way brought me in and out of resonance. But I got it. So it's resonant. And it works. So I've got it up. And it was wasn't an expensive project to do. I mean, I bought like 100-something feet of the wire, and same with the coax cable and the connectors and the insulators and all that stuff. So it's up and it works, and it was fun to do. Like I said, I haven't built anything like that in a long time, so it's kind of fun to build an antenna and make it work. But again, the thing that really kind of threw me for the loop was the fact that I used the same formula to calculate the length of the radials on the 12-meter dipole, and it was way off. Literally, I mean, like way off. So I was trying to figure out what would have caused that. And again, and that's why we have Tim, our antenna guru, with us. So it's like the 17 fine. Even when I readjusted the 12-meter antenna, it still stayed fine. Now I get the 12-meter antenna in, so they're both resonant. But I really had to tinker with that 12-meter antenna. And I can't figure out why, except the only explanation I come up with is proximity. There's another piece of wire right near it, and they were kind of just proximity effect between the two antennas. So, but other than that, the antenna works fine, and quite happy with it. I get on. I made a couple of contacts. I worked a guy in England, I think, on one band, and I forgot what the other guy was, but yeah, every once in a while I'll hop on those bands. I've never operated those bands, so they're both new to me. So it was kind of fun to get on and tune around and make a few contacts, in the last couple of weeks. And there's not a whole lot going on there, but I think there's a lot more FT8 activity on those bands than I guess you'll find at every band. But I didn't hear a lot on a lot of phone like SSB. You hear like one or two QSOs maybe if you tune around, but it works. That's all I know is it works, and I got it to work. And I think the question mark I have is just like, why didn't the formula work for the 12-meter antenna, but it did for the 17. So,
sorry, good question. By the way, I've muted myself, having a bit of a coughing fit there. I just wanted to say hi, KX4UL. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Richard has chimed in with this. So, Tim, do you want to sort of take over from where Chris tailed off there? And
Richard's comment? That is the most likely explanation that you're getting detuned.
So the good thing is like we learn something out of all this, right? That's the way we learn. We experiment and say, oh, gee, why did that happen? And we figure it out. And this is what this is what causes it. It'd be great to be able to and again, this Tim being the one that builds more antennas than we could ever imagine.
Well, I don't do fan dipoles, and one of the reasons why is because you get those coupling. It's just another variable that you throw in there that can it's a neat idea, and it works well on paper, and people build them and use them effectively all the time. It's just not something that I would choose to do for that reason.
And I don't think it's something you can. I would imagine it's not something you can consistently repeat. I think is the issue, right?
You could get close, I think, but again, there's just so many variables. I mean, you'd have to control for everything else to isolate the coupling factor in there. And hello. I got my pals here. Left the gate open. Hi. He's telling me it's time to go for a walk, but we're doing a show first, okay?
Chris, so would you say that this would make an okay portable antenna?
No, and here's why I say that. There's a number of different ways to build fan dipoles, right? The way I did it was literally like the classic fan design, which is one radio, like one antenna, and then the common feed point, and the second one goes off on an angle, right? So, and then you have at each end, you have to put some sort of a spacer to keep them apart. What I found when I put it up was it really wants to twist around on itself. So that gets really kind of
it wants to do this.
It does. In fact, if you look in the video, you can see that I let the coax dangle straight off the middle, so it kind of adds some weight, so it doesn't really want to swing around all that much. That's the first thing. Second thing is you've got those spacers in it, right, at each end. So if you're going portable, it adds a lot of size and bulk to the antenna. So it's not the kind of thing you can need like Tim's antennas. We both use them. You could just roll those things up, put them in a little pouch, you're done, right? This thing you can't do that with that.
No.
So I wouldn't say it's really much of a portable or like a POTA type antenna.
You could probably get away with something like that for like 10 and 12, as long as they're short.
Maybe.
17 would probably be the longest I would go with.
The spacer at each end. Now, some people, like with mine, some people will add like line to the shorter antenna, so they all go out to the end, and then it kind of squares the antenna up rather than have it like fan the way my mind is.
Still seems like it'd be a hassle for portable, though.
It is. There's just a lot of moving parts that I don't think would work. And I don't know how it would work as a sloper. I don't know if you could do it as an inverted V. Again, like to what Tim just said, you're adding a whole bunch of other variables to it.
Well, it'd just be a dipole like anything else, but there's no reason to do all that portably when you can just throw up an OCF if you've got a tuner, and most radios do nowadays.
Right.
So the one thing I'm thinking about,
unless you're a purist, and you want to get out there and make that fan dipole work, which is, hey, I could take a horse waves to blow a weekend.
So, hey, Kim has just thrown out a comment here. 12 meters being a fun band. She encourages more people to get on 12 meters single side band.
Yep.
It's a small band, but it's dreadfully underutilized.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, when 12 is open, it combines that 15 meter plus 10 meter performance, the DX ability. Just it can be magical.
Same with 17. 17, you get between 15 and 20. So if 20's open, there's a good chance 17's open, and it's a lot, it's a lot quieter. So,
people get tired of me saying this, but I grew up a solar minimum ham, so 10 and 12 were kind of just never there. So I never got used to working on them.
Yeah.
I hope that changes soon.
You know what? So, everything is changing, right? I did a video a few years back where I was operating with my FT817 from a tent in a rainstorm, and people could not believe the transatlantic contacts I was making. And today, you get out there with, with 10 being, with 10 being open, with 12 and 15 being open at times, and we know it's just going to get better for the next 18 months to 2-year time frame.
Yep.
It's going to get to a point if the solar cycle comes to fruition the way people are thinking it is. You're going to turn on your rig, and 10 meters is going to be wall-to-wall signals. Yeah. And it's going to be like that for most of a 24-hour day, because that's what it was like in previous solar cycles, not the immediately previous one, which was a bit of a dud, but in previous ones. And in that case, any of these bands will net you some fantastic contacts with 5 watts or less.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and then of course, in 5 years from now, people will be wishing it was back because it'll be
guys right now. The CB radio guys right now are operating sideband, and they're working, working Europe and everything else. Now, mind you, a lot of CB guys are operating ICOM 7100s and 7300s, which is totally illegal on
rebanders, and they're running power.
Yeah, which they shouldn't be. But I look, I have a CB rig sitting here, and I have that dopey little Procom antenna out there, and I hopped on it one time. I worked a guy in Scotland on CB, and mine's a good old fashioned 12 watt SSB radio, right? It worked. It's like, and that was about a year ago. So the conditions there are it's just going to be wide open pretty soon. So, which is
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
It's another reason why it kind of pushed me to get that antenna up. So,
yeah, good job on that, Chris. Hey, Jeff says for portable, maybe better to go trapped over fan. And this is the old argument, isn't it, Tim? It may not be an argument, but at least a debate. You know, to get that, and you yourself mentioned an off-center fed, to get that somewhat compromised performance out of a multi-band antenna versus running your dipoles, which are truly resonant. What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
You know, everybody's got a personal preference. I think for portable, just putting up a trap to be easier than putting up a fan, because you don't have the dangly bits, right?
Right.
So there's an argument to be there, but you know, people like what they like, man. There's no telling it. I mean, you know, my perspective is, because I talk to a lot of new hams, right? Well, I want to do this. And it's like, well, you know, the first thing you should do is just try to get out and get in the air as simply as you can, right? The easiest way to do that. And I've got a ICOM, whatever it is, you know, or with the tuner. It's like, well, if you've got a tuner, just an OCF, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Put that up in the air, play around on the bands, find what you like, and then go from there. You don't have to. By the time you're done as a ham, you're going to own 50 antennas anyway. Tim,
you've said it on our stream here many times. Like, you know, it's hard to beat a dipole, a monoband. It's hard to beat that, especially in the field. You know, the dipole antenna is just, it's flat. You know, flat meaning it's flat and broadbanded, and it's if it's cut right, it's resonant across most of the band. So
if you had to pin me down, right, and say, we're going to go out in the field, we're going to do this, and we're going to work 20 meter and 40 meter CW, right, or digital or whatever, we're going to focus and we're going to concentrate there, then I'd only bring 2 antennas, or, you know, 1 maybe. I'd either bring like a 20 or 40 link dipole, or I'd bring a 20 and a 40 band monopole. As long as there are going to be trees, I won't have any problems putting it up. And it'll be the most efficient thing out there.
Absolutely.
You know, maybe a choke, right? So I get the most out of my 5 watts. But that's got to be fun for somebody, right? Now somebody else is going to want to go out there and be like, oh, you know, we're going to work, you know, 10 and 12 during the day, and you know, I'm hit the gray line on 20, and you know, and then at night it's going to be 40 and 80 for us, and I've got the grumpy old ham net on 80 at you know, midnight or something, you know, and that's a different story.
Right.
Hey guys,
I certainly wouldn't. I would not want to go monoband dipoles for all of that.
Yeah,
right?
Correct.
Hey, guys, we've got some really interesting comments here, so why don't we go through them one at a time, Tim? And I find this fascinating. So Richard E says, for portable usage, I bought 6 5.56 meter stainless whips and built a portable DX Commander style 6-band antenna. And I'm having trouble picturing this, but Tim, what are your thoughts on that?
That's awesome. I love it.
I think I've seen that on YouTube. Somebody did something like that, and they made that. Yeah, it's like they're all it's like a common feed point, I think, right, for all the whips.
It'd be like a cell tower on the ground.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Hey, Pixar didn't happen. That's all I'm saying.
I like that idea, Richard. You know what? If you would be so kind, look me up on QRZ.com, and so shoot me an email with some photos if you don't mind. We'll show them on an upcoming stream, because I think we're all really interested in checking that out.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay, next one up. Roger, would a fan dipole work for 6 meters and 10 meters?
Look at that dog.
Let's talk about.
Oh, he's a beauty, isn't he?
Yeah, nice.
Oh, good boy.
6 meters.
That's me, or
six. You want either vertical or horizontal polarization, depending on where you're operating in the band. So, yeah.
Well, the short answer is 6 and 10, yeah, because 28 was 28 times 2, 56.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so
correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't matter if it's a fan dipole. It doesn't matter if they're linked, or if they're not, you know, sort of multiples of one another.
It helps.
because they're independent. Or tell me about that, Tim, because
well,
I don't know that.
It helps because if you've got the odd links, and that's part of the reason why Chris had kind of a hard time. And if you look in the comments in his video, somebody down halfway in the bottom is talking about the frequencies that are not balanced, right? It create kind of this reactive or resistive load there, and that's true, and that's why you see a lot more fan dipoles on 7 and 20, right? 7 and 14,
Right.
I'm sorry, 40 and 20, and then
Right.
you get that kind of thing. 20 and 10, and so 10 and 6. It's not perfect, but it would be, you have an easier time putting that together than Chris had on odd bands.
Right. Now I think, but the other thing, like I was saying earlier, is that for 6 meters, the way I understand 6 meters, like it depending on what you're doing on 6 meters, sometimes it's vertical polarization you want, or something, or so a dipole wouldn't work as well. So
yeah, you're in low VHF there, so
yeah,
a lot of the antennas, it depends on what they're doing. If you're working FTA, right, I think you'd be fine with it. Yeah. But if you're looking to like hit repeaters and stuff, and somebody out there, the last 6 meter antenna I had was that Comet GP12 or something, GP6 or something like that, which was a vertical, right? It was what 2 meter, 440 and 6, I think it was.
Right.
So yeah, it was all vertical.
So here's Kim.
I built that Squalo antenna.
Your ham lady's got an explanation here too. Yeah.
But I did the Squalo antenna for 6, which is really just it's a square dipole. It's a horizontal antenna. Mm-hmm. Works great. I've worked like stateside contacts on it when 6 is open. Great, no problem. But I don't know how. I haven't tried to see if I could work. Obviously locally, I don't think it would work because it's horizontal. So I don't have a vertical antenna for 6.
On my wish list, on my build list, if I ever have the time and the will, I always wanted like a 6 meter Moxon, right?
Yeah.
Or an X band on like a rotor.
I think Par Electronics sells a 6 meter Moxon.
Yes, yeah, I was gonna build one, but
yeah,
I could buy one too, I suppose.
Hey, just for our, if we have any visually impaired ops who are following along, I just want them to know that. So Kim Kilo 6 YYL has said vertical for 6 meters is what all of the amateur radio operators here in Southern California use. We have to get up over the hills and mountains here. She's very much into 6 meters.
And see, I'm not. I mean, 6 meters is people talk about the magic band and all that stuff like that. That stuff has never worked for me. I mean, it was sporadic. You got to wait for sporadic E and all this other goofy black magic kind of stuff or whatever like that. Dude, 20 meters, 17 meters, thanks.
Well, the thing with the way if I'm in the mood for like doing something with 6 meters, I turn the radio on. I tune it like 50.125, whatever. Like there's like a calling frequency, right? It's like 146.52. It's the same idea. And I'll leave the radio just tuned there, and I'll go about my business doing something else. And if 6 opens, you'll hear somebody there, and you got to be ready to jump on the radio, tune around, make your contact.
And that's happened to me. That's happening. And by the time I get to the radio and I start doing my, it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, and Kim's just following up. It is magic, and you have to have the patience of a saint. Well, I think that lets Tim off the.
Wow.
Okay. Hey, lots of good comments in here. Here's one from, and I'm going to try to get to all of these folks. Thank you for contributing to the discussion, Mike. N2MAK. Perhaps an interesting alternative would be a skeleton sleeve dipole for 17 meters, 12 meters, made with 450 ohm line. I'm looking to make one for 6 meters, 2 meters for local 6 meter, 2 meter single sideband. That's just a thought. Either of you guys have any thoughts on that one?
That's right up your alley, I think, Tracy.
I don't even know what a skeleton sleeve dipole is.
I'd have to go look it up. I don't know, but I love the Fed with the 450 ohm.
Well, I'm not a big fan of twin lead, but that's because of my experience. That's only because of my experience in a suburban environment where I had big time RFI running a G5 RV, and of course I've taken your G5 RV out camping. It works great.
Well, that's 300.
Yeah, it's not okay.
Yeah, that's 300. Um, I don't know. Look up skeleton sleeve dipole real quick. See what that is. Maybe it's something we know of by another name. That's happened.
I got it.
Yeah, Mike, if you can, Chris, can you take a look at that?
Yeah, I'll take
I just want to get down through some of these comments, guys, while we're going through.
But
So
honestly,
one,
yeah, but strange. Sorry, not strange, but maybe eclectic antennas like that. Are fun. That's that whole experimental thing, and I know that you like
yeah.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
that's
love
your-
that
yeah.
stuff. Yes, you're right. I do love that stuff.
See,
One,
actually, my mind works to things that somebody might actually buy. So it's
well, it
so it
has
works
to.
a little bit
Yeah,
differently.
that's a much more practical side. Juan from Chile. I think for portable, the link dipole is the better choice to carry on my backpack.
Yeah.
I think you've got three people who agree completely with you, Juan.
Depends, though. Depends. I think that link dipole will cover 80% of all your operating needs. Right there. It depends on what you want to try and do.
The only issue is that you're taking it down, you're putting it back up, as compared to a multi-band dipole, whether it's a resonant end fed or whether it's an OCF, which of course requires a tuner and will not be as resonant. You're going to need a tuner with that, so it's not going to be as efficient. So good call, Juan.
The skeleton sleeve dipoles. I'm looking at. It's made out of 450 twin lead, and
is that the one that somebody just pulls the twin lead apart and then just has one end of the dipole?
No. It's made out of 450 twin lead, and it folds on it. It folds back. Then there's a gap, and there's a section of the twin lead in the middle. It looks like it couples to that, so you can get multiple bands out of it. That's my first read on it. I could be wrong. But
okay. I know. I have to see a visual. I visualize kind of a bazooka style thing there.
Sort of. Yeah. Yep. I'm seeing if I find another picture of it.
No, we can make one for Mike, and he can do a video on it.
That'd be very cool.
Or Tracy. Tracy could do a video.
You're not going to have that covered for me. Hey, listen. Sorry, go ahead.
You're not going out for. You're in for the year, more or less, right?
My camping is over until spring now, and so now, I'm starting to think about next year. Okay, but it doesn't mean I won't be going out because all kinds of interesting stuff coming out for outdoor activities. I just got to move into winter mode. Okay, Kim I think she was responding to what we were talking about a little bit earlier about CB. CB is crazy good right now. I listen, and there are so many CBers working the world right now.
Yeah.
I wish we had that many numbers in amateur radio active on the air.
She's right. Absolutely right. It's incredible. There's a lot of CB activity, and she's absolutely right. Yep.
Okay, Scout 75. Hey, I'm sorry it's taken a little while to get to these comments, folks, but we got a good conversation going
I
here.
don't know. Comments are the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Scout 75 says, for me, operating portable, the simpler the better. I'd rather have a single band or two to work with than spend my day troubleshooting and untangling a mess. More radio time, less swearing.
Yeah.
I can't agree with you more. And you know what? The truth is that typically for me, it's been 40, almost always 40s, particularly when the sunspot cycle was lower. And now that it's higher, now I'm starting to get into 20 more. I talk about Mr. Adventurous, right? Forget the higher bands. My portable operations have almost entirely focused on 40. But with CQ Worldwide, every year, of course, I'm up there looking, okay, is 15 open, or field day, is 15 open, is 10 open? But Scout 75, we're brothers on that one. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so Roger says, thanks for the answers. I really appreciate it. Okay, here's Scout 75 throwing some shade. 6 meters is called the Magic Band because magic doesn't exist. Just kidding. I just like that show.
Been my experience.
Yeah. There is a 6 meter net here in Ontario, and the guys are pretty far flung. And on good nights, they can actually hear each other. Now, the way it works is that
on a good night they can hear each other.
well, I gotta spell it out for you so that you understand. So the one guy is net control, and he's more or less, not exactly, but kind of centrally located. And he's at elevation, as much as there is elevation in Ontario, which is really flat. And he's got a big tower and he's got a beam up there. And he'll swing the beam in a certain direction and he'll call for check-ins. And then he's got to swing it in another direction. And of course, anybody who checks in, the other people aren't hearing the people that check in, they're hearing the net control. And sometimes, depending upon band conditions, they'll hear them one week, the net control station, and then they won't hear them the following week. So I give those guys a lot of credit. They're persistent, but I don't have any 6-meter capabilities here. And in addition to that, my home sits just below the threshold of something they call the Niagara Escarpment here. And it's this 700 or 800 foot rise up from the lake that goes all the way up through Ontario, right up to a place they call Tobermory, which is on the Bruce Peninsula, which juts out, this massive thing that juts out and separates Georgian Bay from Lake Huron. And then this escarpment actually continues across into the upper peninsula of Michigan and down through Wisconsin. But because I'm sort of sitting down here, and the guys are all up here, I can't go that 5 or 6 miles through solid rock to get up and hear the stations over there. So I don't even bother. I don't even have an antenna for that.
We had remember we had Rob N1 NUG on the 741 channel. He does a lot of 6-meter mobile stuff with some guys here in the northeastern part of Connecticut, and he's been having great luck with mobile, and he's having great luck with it. So.
Yeah,
there's a 6-meter club here too in Chicago. It's the Chicago FM Club or something like that, and it's always been intriguing. But like I said, it's just never worked for me.
Right.
Go figure. So maybe they hear each other like during the torrid meteor shower or something. I don't know.
Hey, listen, Mike's come back. N2MAK. Actually, the 450 ohm is the radiating elements.
Yes.
One element is parasitic. Look up Kilo Golf 4 GVL skeleton sleeve. So, Chris, you got a good handle on that one.
Yeah.
Hey, you got another build video coming, Chris.
No, I don't see me trying to noodle around with that thing.
Kim K6YYL. We have a Sunday morning net on 50.400 AM. Wow, local Pacific time, and then a Sunday night net. 50.15 single sideband. We have a lot of check-ins, especially the morning net. Interesting on AM. That's interesting.
Where in Southern California is she?
Los Angeles area.
Is she in the basin there, or is it?
I'm not that familiar with.
LA's pretty big.
LA geography.
The LA area, like Southern California, is pretty flat. You got the mountains, and then you got you got a pretty flat section there. So if you get decent elevation on an antenna, you'll work pretty much the whole area.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time out there. I didn't do any radio work though. It's a shame, but I know the area.
Yeah.
Okay, hey Mike, N2MAK. I want to do more 6 meters. One of my POTA goals for next year will be getting the 6-pack activator award. 10 contacts on 6 meters at 6 different parks. I just have a speaker wire dipole and 1/4 wave vertical though.
Okay, so you know what? So that 6-meter Moxon might be a good thing for Mike to take with him on this. You can put that up on a tripod and have a little rotor, and then
it's not that big.
So he's in New York, right? So if you were to point that thing southwest, I'll bet he'd have some success.
Yeah. Well, so he says here a very active VHF group in Western New York and Southern Ontario, which is my territory, and there are people around here that would like to operate on 6. I know there are some local guys, some very local guys here that do try 6 meters when they go out POTA.
VHF for some reason over the past year has become more and more popular. I mean, you get, I mean, this is the most we've talked about it here on our show, but if you look,
Yeah.
people are doing DMR and all kinds of stuff. A tech prepper has gone, he's gone digital on us too. So, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about doing like a 2 meter, 70 centimeter J pole, like one of those Slim Jim antennas, but I think is it N9TAX is already doing that.
Yeah, I have a couple of his, and they're nice. He does a nice job on them.
Yeah, there's so it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want somebody doing that to me. So
yeah. Hey, Mike. Also, sorry. Hang on. Let me just catch up with stuff here. So Richard says that pick is at Reddish Knob Summit, Virginia, West Virginia State Line Field Day 2022. Everyone complained how bad conditions were, and I was struggling with pileups. I didn't see a pic. I'm sorry.
Oh, is that the pic of the cell tower on the ground?
Well, we were hoping that he would send a pic, and maybe it hasn't arrived yet, so okay. I can't share it.
If it does, put it up. I'd love to see that. It'd be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Takes some time to put together, though. I think.
Look at this. Everyone complained about how bad conditions were, and I was struggling with pileups. Oh my gosh, that sounds like a winner.
Good problem to have.
Sure.
Here we go. Kim, I have a YouTube video of AA6DD on 6 meters working Japan stations from back in 1979. He recorded it on a cassette tape, and then he transmitted it to me, and I uploaded that to my YouTube channel. I got to say, there are times when I am very envious of West Coast operators for being able to do stuff like that.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, yeah, I'd love to be out there and be able to work. I mean, I've worked Japan a couple of times. Australia and New Zealand too, but I've always wanted to like get into India and China and stuff like that. You just can't here.
Yeah, it's a long shot unless you're at the high end of the cycle.
Oh, you'd have to get there. I mean, there are so many factors that we have a confluence of positive factors that would need to come through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, they're chatting with each other now in the chat. That's sweet.
Yeah, no, it's perfect, isn't it?
We're going to need our own Discord server here soon.
All right, so guys, we are at the 1 hour mark, but we still got some other stuff where we've pretty much burned through the comments section. Keep them coming, folks, for sure. But we do have some stuff that we wanted to get into for Tim to talk about a little bit. You know what? I haven't.
Okay, we can save it for next time. I mean, they're not gonna. They don't expire.
Okay, well let me share this one with you then. I've got some that I got something here I want to share. So I did download some comments from my channel, and so my most recent video. No, it's not my most recent one. The most recent one was Nightmare Before Halloween. My buddy Tim says, you got to make your titles a little catchier, put a little bit of hook in there. So I called this one the coolest field radio you've never heard of. And that's because there are an awful lot of new hams, at least in my area. And these guys have been hams for the past 4, 5, 6 years. There's a new wave coming through, certainly in my area. Well, Mr. Sparks 54. Now, I want to say this right out of the gate here. I don't think he was trying to be mean or nasty. I think he was genuinely trying to say, hey, you might want
I don't know. I always put a little snark in my comments.
So here you go. Here's what he said. Of course, I've heard of the SG 2020. I had one for years. That title screams clickbait. Come on, man. Don't use titles like that.
Okay, for the record.
Wow.
I did not suggest that Tracy jazz things up a little bit and make it hooky and get kind of stuff like that. What I suggested was that he go full on clickbait, oh my God, my ham radio burned my house down kind of shit. That's what I suggested. I told him to go so completely over the top. And we were going to buy subscribers, we're going to buy views, we're going to do all this stuff like that. And in typical Tracy fashion, he says, well, I don't think I really want to do that. So we had a session one day where I actually got him to put, what was it? It was Mr. HOA, right, or somebody like that.
Yeah, that's
Or
right.
they're coming for your radio or something like that. And that's
HOA police are watching.
yeah, that's the closest I ever got him to come to this kind of thing. So, that title does not scream clickbait. I will tell you that.
So my response to him right there, my content is of no value if few people see it. Titles, like the rest of my channel, are in a constant state of experimentation. And it's true. I play around with it. This is my channel. I'm not trying to derive a living from it. I would be doing so much more. I'd be on every social media thing that I could think of, pumping out stuff. I'd be putting out a video a week. I just can't do that. Period. End of story. I'm lucky if I get one video out a month, and I am really grateful that there are people who leave me nice comments, people who subscribe to my channel. I'm tremendously grateful for that. So that was my response to him. And so there it is. But you know what? I think I understand where he's coming from, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it, but I just wanted a chance to say, hey, listen, this is the way it is. And Tim is right, because he's talking about the thumbnails, and I've heard this from others. You got to have thumbnails on your video. We'll go,
Yeah.
and you got to go. And I think to myself, and I have thought to myself for years.
Do that again so we can screenshot that. That's what we want right there. Because you're not fighting people. You're fighting a math program. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean,
once
you get over that hump, it'll build on itself. But
I don't care.
The final boss in this case is an algorithm. So
it's not my style. You'll never see me do that. Just the way you'll never see me buy an ICOM 705. Oh wait. Never mind.
Folks, give me a year. Okay, give me a year, and we're going to be doing what was it?
He's wearing me down.
No. Listen, I went to Tracy. I'm in the same boat. It's like, I come up with whatever thumbnail. It's like, here's a picture from what the video, what I'm doing in the video. If you want to watch the video, great. I try to get it so the title says, this is what we're doing, right? This is what the video's about, right? So
fair enough.
That's why you and that's why we don't have millions of subs. That's why,
It's it right there. Okay.
Well, you know what millions of subs. You want quality subs, which is what I think you guys have. So
that's right.
Hey, you know what? And I think we do. I absolutely think we do. So let's
actually, I have to say, I'm going to put in a shameless plug. My channel, which shocks me every time I sit there. I just broke through 4,500 subs. So for me, that's nice. I look at that, I'm like, I can't believe that, but that's great.
Nice. Fantastic, Chris. Good stuff.
Great. Yeah,
that's awesome. Keep cranking out those videos, though.
Are you guys
one out a month?
Can you hear this?
No.
No, you don't hear a little dog at the gate going.
No. Hope he doesn't have to pee.
It's once a month. Once a month, Gridley. Okay.
He still wants you to take him for that walk. He's
dying. You promised him.
He's dying. Oh yeah, I know. You can't break a promise to a dog. I mean that's.
Hey, Kim comes back. Hey, I worked New Zealand back in May on 50.110 single side bin. There goes my California envy again. I'm 30 miles east of Los Angeles. I have a video of that as well on my channel. Wow. Jeez. Yeah, if I was in LA, I think I'd put up a 6-meter antenna.
What's 30 miles east of Los Angeles? Like Whittier or someplace? Or 30 miles? Or would that be more like Ventura?
No, Ventura's northwest.
I'm trying to think. The last time I spent any time in California was in the Valley, in Canoga Park. Was it Hillside Woods or something like that? Or there's a 3 little city area there.
Woodland Hills or whatever they call
Claremont. It. Okay, Woodland Hills. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, let's take a look. We got
3 years, then we got paroled and we got out.
Guys, we got a few more comments to get on through.
There was a little burrito place on Topanga Boulevard that they had best hot sauce, I swear to God. So it's like a steak and guacamole burrito every day with this crazy red hot sauce on there. It was wonderful.
Oh, it sounds good.
Okay, I'm
I'd be
done.
into that. Not quite as enticing as the eyeball tacos that I was offered in Mexico City, but that's
No,
a story for another
can't
day.
do that. No.
Okay. Roger says, listen, I wanted to recognize this. Roger, you're still a technician. Good for you, man. Keep going. And if you get a chance to upgrade, that's great. And if you're having fun with technician, then make it happen.
Operating on 10 meters. They get 10-meter privileges. And these days with the sunspots you're going, you're going to be fine.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, we got Wade, VA3NCA. Good evening, Wade. Thanks for joining us. Just joined now and catching up for the recent past on 2x speed. Yeah, okay, no worries. I have no idea what I sound like on 2x speed, but I'm pretty slow paced, so it should be okay. Hey, look at Kim. Look at this. I've got a thumbs up for videos and titles. Thank you, Kim. All right, let me see here. Scout. How did this get in my pack from Tracy's last video made my day?
That was
I
pretty
don't
funny.
know if you guys have seen that, but
that was pretty funny. Well, how'd this get in there? Oops.
yeah. Okay. You can't please everyone. You run a good, clean channel, so just make the content you want to make and let the chips fall as they may. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. You know what? Everybody's got their own style, right? And that's just what I'm doing, and that's just and I'm grateful for everybody. I truly am. Okay. So Kim came back and said Claremont is her QDH. Oh, Antelope Valley. Oh man, that's on my bucket list one day to get there. Okay, Kim, on the city on the border of Los Angeles County, San Bernardino County is so close to me, 1 mile from my house.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Hey, Roger comes back. Definitely plan on upgrading my license. This is such a great hobby. It is the greatest hobby that I can certainly think of, Roger. And yeah, I got nothing more to add to that. That's just fantastic. Okay, let's get back to some of the slides and questions because I want to sort of skip through to some of yours, Tim.
Okay.
You know, my poor pal Tim's been waiting for a little while to get this.
No, I'm not the one waiting.
All right, here we go. Let's start off here. Now, I think I may have messed up with the slides, but I think all the questions relate to a single antenna. So that's the way I've got the slides set up here, Tim.
Oh.
So the first question is, we're referring to the QRP portable linked end-fed 40, 20, 15, and 10 meter no-tune ham radio antenna available on the N9 SAB antenna store on eBay. Stupid question. With the link open, is the coverage 20 meter and 10 meter, and with the link connected, 40 meter and 15 meter? Also, does VSWR shift much between sloper and inverted V?
Okay, so the first question. All right, so here's what I was thinking, right? You have a 66-foot end fed, standard 40 meter end fed, gets you 40, 20, 15, and 10, right? But managing a 66-foot wire can be a pain in the neck. So we cut it in half, more or less, and do a section that gets you 20 and 10 that's 32 and change feet long, which is a very easy thing to manage in like a sloper configuration. If you pull up to your park, toss your line in the tree, and poof, you're operating within just a few minutes, right? Then if you want to, you plug the link in and you can run the rest of it out and do 40, and you would have all 4 bands at that point. So the one section of the band gives you 20 and 10, and then the other section, when it's connected, gives you all 4 bands. That was the idea. And does the SWR shift much between sloper and inverted V? It can. It's a lot to do with conditions, circumstances, how you have it set up, what kind of ground conductivity you have. All of those variables can change the SWR, but not a lot. The antenna is still resonant where it's resonant, right? Your patterns will change from inverted V from a sloper though too. That's probably the bigger change.
Cool. Okay, next one. Okay, brilliant idea to enable short mode for tight quarters with the link.
Thank you.
Does VSWR stay relatively happy between sloper, inverted L, inverted V? But I want you to drill into this short mode stuff for us.
What do you mean? Drill in.
Yeah, well, tell us more. Like short mode. Define short mode.
Well, short mode is just that 2010 section, right?
So just removing
yeah,
the 40 and the.
I've got
Okay.
2 pieces of wire instead of one. And if I just want to work, so it's the middle of the day, not a whole lot of likelihood you're going to do too much on 40, right? 15 is such a big band. I mean, you can go there if you want to, all right? But the money is going to be on 20 meters mostly. And with the sunspot cycle, it's, you can hit 10 too. So you go there, and like somebody wanted to do Chris was trying to do the 10 parks in 10 days or something like that, right? Wasn't there a challenge?
Yeah.
10 parks a day or something like that. It was the Bruce Jenner sprint or something like that. Anyway, so you go up to you go up to wherever you're going, and you're operating and unoperating in just a few minutes. And you can go straight as a sloper. You could even run it vertically if you want to. Your SWR is not going to change too much between sloper, inverted L, and inverted V. You're not going to get too much inverted L and inverted V out of just the short section, though. Okay. And short section is the 10-20. So imagine 66-foot long wire, right? Eliminate half of it so that the long section is resonant on 20 meters, which also gets you 10. And you're just managing that shorter section of wire rather than having to worry about getting it up and over a tree or high enough or doing anything like that. Which worked very well for me in my little tiny cabin in the North Woods.
Yeah. How were the trees? Were the trees widely spaced, tightly spaced? What did you have to work with?
On one side, they were pretty widely spaced because people had to have access to the island and stuff like that. So there's like a little road and a little driveway coming in. So not a lot there. But moving down towards the water, they got thicker and thicker.
Yeah.
And they were mostly pines. Pines mostly. But there's a lot of birch, which made it really cool.
Oh, very nice. Okay, let's get on with this. Tim, excited to give it a try. I'm brand new to this hobby, but was pointed your way for my first antenna. One question, for inverted V configuration, is there a particular angle of the arms that you'd recommend for best performance?
I try to always keep mine as flat as possible. But when you're upwards and when you're in the 40-meter territory, to get a half wave off the ground or, and then to flatten that 30 feet up in the air or so like that, that can be difficult. So inverted V is an easier deployment, but a lot of people like to think that, especially the new hams, I get this question a lot. You get your center connector 25 feet up, and then they'll bring the legs straight down, and then I can't, it doesn't work. It's no good. SWR too high. Kind of thing. It's just like, well, no, what you want to do is you want to just, give them gently sloping. I never go under maybe like 120 degrees. So ish like that. Yeah. And I wouldn't go any lower than like 110. So I would rather run that dipole at 20 feet and be able to flatten it out more than I would at 25 or 30 and then have sharp angles coming down. So no less than 110 for best performance. That makes
perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I think the rule of thumb is 90 degrees. You go below 90 degrees, and your SWR is just going to be wrong.
No, you're off. But the other thing a lot of people don't realize, though, is that your resonant frequency is going to go down.
Yes.
The more severe the angle is.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's kind of I have yet to see that stated plainly somewhere, right? When some of these, you can deploy it as an inverted V. That's fine, but if your dipole is resonant, you want to work the SSB portion to 40 meters, right, at 7200, 7220, somewhere around there, and your angle, is you're coming down at 100 degrees or 90 degrees or whatever, your frequency is going to drop. Mm-hmm. And for a monoband dipole, no tuner, nothing else in there, you have to realize that you're going to lose a little bit of efficiency like that.
When people order dipoles from you, you usually ask them how they intend to install it, right? How to use it?
Mostly. A lot of times I do. A lot of times people will just say, I'm going to do this with it and I want to work digital. Okay, well, that makes it a lot easier.
Right. Right.
But dipoles, you're fairly broad-banded, so they're very forgiving too. I mean, you don't have to be perfect. And the way people learn and they take their test and they study and all this stuff, there's an implication, at least on paper, that things have to be perfect all the time, or no dice or whatever, and that's not true in the field.
Right, that's true.
I mean, I run a low 40-meter dipole at 25 feet or whatever. I can get across the phone band and the digital portion of the band without difficulty. But I don't freak out if my SWR is 1.6,
right,
as opposed to like 1.3. Okay, I mean, in practice, on paper, that's good. Well, it's a big bugaboo, right? It's got to be 1.1 or nothing. It's not the case. People need to freak out less about that. So if I'm, my SWR is 1.6, 1.7 or something like that, I'm not going to see any appreciable difference than if it were at 1.4 or something like that. Lower is better, no question about it. But in reality, to recognize a substantial difference between that would be very, very difficult.
Guys, I have to jump in here. Kim has just posted a comment. I think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. So we know Kim's call is K6YYL. She was out with WW0MAN. Now, what an awesome call. I can just see the two ladies out there with the best calls in the world working POTA. Fantastic. That is awesome. That's fantastic. Okay, but back to some of these questions here, Tim. Okay, how is the takeoff angle for dipoles? Is it as low as verticals?
Technically, no. That's the short answer. The long answer is, again, I've worked just as much DX with the dipole as I have with a vertical. I've run verticals from time to time. They're kind of a pain in the neck to set up, and you've got, radials on the ground and stuff running all over the place, and it's just, all these little fiddly bits that you got to work with. So when you look at the radiation charts and you see that low takeoff angle, and you understand propagation theory, and you get this many more skips out of that low takeoff angle, okay, when you're running 5 watts, I mean, how much are you going to get to that 4th or 5th skip? I'm not so sure. So that would be my answer, that it is lower, and on paper it does look better. In practice, I still think you're going to have as much, if not more, success with the dipole.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure what this question meant, but you sent it across. I just saw compatible brand. Will this work with the FT817?
So on eBay, right, you have a section there, and you're able to plug in compatible brands, right? So if you're in the category consumer electronics, ham radio antennas kind of thing, when you go to compatible brand, it lists all of these different kinds of radios, and the list is like 2 pages long, right? But there's only like Yaesu's on there, ICOM's on there, Kenwood's on there, Alinco, and that's pretty much it as far as ham bands. When you look at the listing, when it pops up, it says compatible brand, and it'll say blah 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 blah, and it'll say Yaesu, right? So they just asked, I saw compatible brand, will it work with an FT817? Certainly it will. Perfectly, in fact. It's made for FT817, the low power ICOM, the G90, the Lab 599, True SDX, all of those 20 watt and under radios was what I was thinking when I did that.
Fantastic. Hey, Scout 75. For me, SWR is all relevant. If I was in a big time contest station with a permanent station, 1-to-1 or nothing. But since I do mostly portable, 1-to-1 would be great. But as long as the radio is happy, so am I.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think he means SWR is relative.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever disagreed with the Scout 75, even on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think your home shack, sure, you want it because it's your home shack. You really want to get it right. But you're in a field, everything's compromised. So
And naturally, when you do the math, if you want to go on paper, a dipole is never going to get better than 1.5 to 1 anyway, right?
That's true.
Because
That's right.
you're 72.5 ohms over 50.
Correct.
So 1.5 is theoretically the best you're ever
The
going
best
to
you
do.
can get. That's right.
But when I've put them up, I've seen SWRs 1.3, 1.4 on a dipole, sure. So what does that mean? You know, that means everything's relative. You know, some conditions and some configurations are better than others. And
Right.
and all these instruments that people say, my favorite thing is when people get an antenna, and the first thing they do is they pull out the rig expert or they pull out this thing, and you know, instruments at some point need to be calibrated, and they need to be you know, measurements. These things they're not perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Hey,
if
Jeff.
but he's absolutely right. If the radio's happy,
That's right.
I'm happy.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, WJ7V 1.5 to 1 VSWR is 4% reflected power for perspective. Well put.
The other thing too is that a lot of people think they, especially in the new hams, this is another one I get a lot. They have a 100-watt radio, so they've got their radio down in the shack, and they've got 50 feet of coax running outside to their base, and then they're running up another 10, 20 feet on the tower, right? So 100 watts at the radio, it must mean I'm putting out 100 watts at the antenna.
Yeah.
It's simply not the case.
Not the case.
Not the case.
Yeah.
Which is why, you know, some of the toroids and stuff like that, I mean, we can get away with saying that, you know, 100-watt rated for SSB, right? Because at the end of that antenna that I'm putting up there, if he's putting out 70, 75 watts, he's doing pretty good, you know, on phone. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, another one here. What is the connector type so I can buy a coax for my radio? Sorry for the questions, just getting my first HF rig going. Hey, we were all there. We know it. We remember what it was like. You thought you didn't know a thing. And
this is not, you know, people say, hey, I have a stupid question. And there aren't any stupid questions.
That's right.
But I put this in there because the key part here is getting my first HF rig going, right? Okay. Which is, you know, a question a lot of people ask, and there are a lot of new hams out there, and there's, you know, I don't think connector type was on the test, if I remember correctly. At least not was on the test I took. Right? Nobody asked me the difference between SO239, BNC, SMA, none of that.
Right.
You know, so a lot of times I'm thinking about buying this radio. That's why I used to like Universal Radio. I don't know if they're still around anymore.
No.
The universalradio.com, they would have the radio, and then they would have like a picture of the back.
Yeah.
And you could see what the connector type and how the layout was, and you look at the rear of the antenna, you could okay, that's an SO239. So, and a lot of people ask me, he goes, well, what kind of coax should I get? You know, well, you just want to make sure that it's terminated in, you know, whatever is in the back of the radio versus whatever is up at the other end of the antenna.
Right.
That's really the question that he's getting here. And I don't have. There are people who take positions on, I only want BNCs or I only want SO239s. I'm fine with both of them, actually. In a lot of cases, I mean, BNCs are nicer because they work with the smaller cables usually. But I like the threads on an SO239. You know?
Yeah, me too.
I like the threads. I'm old school. I like stuff that screws in and doesn't move. You know, and I've had many times where, you know, a little twist or, you know, wind will pick up something, it'll turn, you know, and BNC will just fall out.
Yeah.
That's happened to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I've got this.
You know, you're right, Tim, with BNCs, it's like, you know, even when they're locked, right? Yeah. There's still a load of motion in them.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. And not all BNCs are equal, okay? Because one of the things, it's always been apparent, right? But the reality really hits home when I started printing my own dust caps, right? And I try to buy everything American if I can, and even the stuff that they don't even make in America anymore, like female BNC bulkhead connectors, right? They're all made overseas. If you're buying them from an American guy, he's just bringing them in from China, right? But the specs on those things are not the tightest in the world. So when I'm printing down to, you know, the 10th of a millimeter to make sure the dust cap fits on a BNC female, right? So I got the little, and inside I got the little interlocking grooves, you know. So you'll buy a lot from one supplier and design a cap for that, and it works fine. And then I'll buy a lot from another supplier, and I come in and it's just too small, right?
Yep.
It won't fit. And it's not me. It's not my printer. Okay, it's not the filament. It's not any of that stuff. It's those specs on that stuff are just loose, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
I have I've been out in the field. I'll put an antenna up on the air. It's got a BNC connection on it, and rain is expected, so I wrap it all up in electrical tape really tight. Make sure that's a nice good seal. And then when I bring it down at the end of the activation, I notice that, well, what the heck? Just in, I don't know if it's just unwrapping the tape that's done it, but this sucker's ready to fall off.
Yeah.
It didn't click into place and stay into place.
Yeah.
And I'm always careful when I wrap that tape around. I'm going in the direction of the twist to make sure that it's not going to come undone. So you're right, Tim. There is there's some variation.
But I still like BNCs, and the world seems to like BNCs more and more these days too. A lot of the smaller radios that we're talking about, with the exception of the G20, all have the BNC connections on them. And the other question too is, what kind of coax should I be using? And I grew up with RG8X.
Yeah, me too.
And it's fine for me, and it doesn't bother me anymore. But guys are wanting to use 316, RG58. It's another one. There's another one in there. 216, 220 or something like that. I don't know. Tim G2CJB to did a good video on coax and losses, and I know he likes to use some of the smaller stuff too.
Right.
Which is cool. It's fine. But like I said, I grew up with RG8X and an adapter and a threaded connector.
Yep. That's everything I have here is it's RG8X. I mean, I have inside here, and actually going up to, I forgot when I put the antennas up here, I think I used RG8 only because I had a long length of RG8. I already had it. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to use that, right? But certainly in the field, I use RG8X all the time.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, works great.
So Charlie NJ7V, who we had on the stream earlier this year, he's completely standardized on BNC. But the reason I standardized on PL259 is because I like to get those, I don't use fancy cable in the field. I tried that. I had a bad experience with it. But you go to Amazon, and I don't know, they call it Road Pro or something like this. You buy an 18-foot extension cable, and it's got the molded PL259s on. I like those. There's no water getting in the back end of those molded connectors. Hey, it's not the greatest coax in the world. It doesn't cost an arm and a leg, and you've got that water thickness at the back of it. I've never had a problem. I mean, like any coax, you need to throw it out at some point, right? Something happens to it. It's fragile. You kink it up. You pull on it the wrong way. You just don't want to mess with it. But I that's why I standardized on the PL259s, because I'm using cables with those molded connectors on it. And I like to use those 18-foot cables with the double barrel SO239 on it, because now I just carry along 4 or 5 of those, and I daisy chain them if I need to, if I need the extra length. I'm not worried about cable loss running at HF.
No.
For me, that's why PL259 and SO239 was the way.
Which is another cool too. The only thing I have to, I still make my own cables, because a lot of times when you get the molded connectors like that, they're crimped.
Right.
And I had a bad experience, chasing down ghosts and problems and stuff like that. And it ended up being just a poorly crimped connector.
Right.
So for me, everything's got to be soldered.
Okay.
There's no way for me to guarantee that.
The same thing. It's like I make most of my coax assemblies. I make myself, and I solder up the connectors on each end. And where BNCs they're all crimped.
That's true. Except for the ones I make. Mine are all soldered. But the coax.
Well,
The
me
coax.
growing
Yeah,
in television engineering, as long as I did, 99% of what we did was crimped BNC connectors on everything. If they're done right, they work great. But yeah.
I would put forth the argument that, if in fact the outside diameters on some of those connectors are not necessarily, the specs are a little loose.
Right.
What does the crimp inside look like? I mean, but that's not to say you can't. You just go. If you do what you got to do. If you need to go buy BNC, a 30-foot BNC cable from Amazon or whatever, I mean that's what you got to do, and
Right.
and you'll be fine 99% of the time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, Kim, and both yourself and Richard have sent me photos. They're not coming through. I don't know why. There's nothing in my spam folder, so I'll watch for those. And when I do receive them, I'll include those in a future stream. So thanks very much for offering to send those photos along. I really appreciate it. Gentlemen, we are at the 1 hour and 35-minute mark. And while I feel like we could absolutely go all night, A, tomorrow's a work day for me. And B, I'm getting tired. I'm turning into a pumpkin.
Here. So one thing before we go, right here, here's another cool thing that happened to me. So at the cottage, I've been putting together a little solar setup. Right, and I have a battery bank and a solar thing here that I use to just goof around. I'll run the radio off it sometimes or whatever. It's a small little battery bank. But I learned a lesson not to go with small amp hour batteries. I was doing like 55 marine deep cycles, 55 amp hour. Right, so I went searching and running around and researching and doing all kinds of stuff. And I found this. There's a 100 amp hour and there's a 200 amp hour Power Queen battery. Right, which I bought and I've had great success with, and I just bought another one not too long ago, and I'm going to build like a little bank of these things. But then I got Julian's blog entry today, and he's doing an affiliate program with Power Queen. So he's got an affiliate link that you can save 10% off a Black Friday sale or something like that for these batteries, and they're expensive, right? I mean, I'm not doing this every couple of weeks or something like that. This is a $250 battery you're talking about, which you can save, 10% off that or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Go check out his blog and use that affiliate link. Because I was getting ready, I started to think about, I should probably, I want to do another battery before Christmas and stuff like that, and get that and just have that done. And then I got the link to his blog, which he's going on about Power Queen all of a sudden, and I didn't, I did that independently of him, and I think he certainly did it independently of me. So. Power Queen batteries are kind of cool.
Okay. Very good. Hey, just before we bail here, Kim's back. I have had squirrels eat my coax. Luckily, I was able to wrap it up with electrical tape on the spots that were chewed. That was a POTA location while camping.
Wow.
Ooh, wow. Kim, we're about to pull the plug. I've just received it. So we will do it. We will show that on a future stream. But thank you very much for sending it. Greatly appreciate it, guys. Let's wish everybody a 7-3 and any final thoughts you might have. Starting with you, Chris.
Well, as always, great time, great questions, great comments, and we'll see everybody next month. Make sure this is something that both Tracy and I usually forget to put in our videos. Make sure you like and subscribe.
That's right. Exactly. Jeff nailed it. I hit that thumbs up. Hey, that's Tim, right. Final comments.
Like and subscribe.
Buy an antenna from Tim's eBay store. You won't regret it. Great stuff.
Yeah. So if people want to buy stuff for Christmas, now's the time. What's
your lead time, Tim?
5 days, 6 days, something like that.
Good.
Not bad.
But we're doing some more tech prepper stuff, so that's going to have to weave that in as well. But for Christmas stuff, now's the time.
Good stuff. Okay. And happy Thanksgiving to all our American friends, for sure.
So wait a minute. So we're doing a Christmas show next month, right?
Well, we're going to do something. It's just going to be the three of us again.
Okay.
Should everybody
bring their wish list stuff?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Well, if you got your ham radio outlet catalog in the mail, it's like the Sears catalog when you were a kid. So,
Is that what that
Everybody-
big thing was that I just the mailbox went funk and I saw some ham radio thing in there.
Yep.
Oh, did you see I tweeted out N1NSP sent me something in the mail too. He had that little HF handbook.
Oh yeah.
You don't even read my tweets, do you?
You know what? It's not you. It's Twitter. It's X. I can't stand being inundated every day with all that stuff. So I once a week or once every couple of weeks I get on to see what's happening. Yeah, I'm just not a social media guy. You know, I gotta say it.
Look at the disappointment in Tim's face.
I know. There you go.
That's it.
Gentlemen, yeah. Thank you very much, everybody who's attended. Your interaction with us was greatly appreciated. Really nice to be in touch with people, and looking forward to the next one. So happy Thanksgiving to all the American people out there, and
When's
everybody else.
Wasn't it like it's in August or something, isn't it?
What's that? Canadian?
Yeah.
October.
October.
We had ours, about 6 weeks ago or something.
Okay.
Nah, not quite, maybe a month ago. But anyway,
Do you
yeah.
eat turkey too, or do you eat like loon or something?
Turkey. No, yeah, loons. That's great. Yeah, no, that's yeah, no, it's turkey. It's turkey and all the trimmings, pretty much the way you folks did it so right. We had to do it. You know, it's just we got to be different, so we do it sooner. Well, that's when the
God bless America.
Anyway, I'm ranting now because I'm just getting punchy.
Punchy.
Okay,
Good night.
everybody. 7-3. Catch you down the log.